Hey guys, this is Project StarCraft coming at you with another self-commentary. This is a game between myself and a Zerg player on Entombed Valley, so let's get right into it. Spawning the bottom left-hand corner, we have our red opponent Zerg named Sun, and spawning the top left, we have me, Project, in the blue trunks. This is going to be a first-person cast, so let's get right into it. On Entombed Valley, I really do like PvZ. I feel that I'm able to control myself very well in terms of being able to do the plan that I want to do. What I like to do on this map is to be able to take 3 pretty quick bases with a Stargate opening, which leads into Blink Stalkers and Fast +2. And when I'm able to get my 3rd base online is when I start getting some Colossus out and add some additional gateways. So I have a pretty excellent gateway army that's going to cover about 3 to 4 Colossus when I eventually push out. I'm still kind of tweaking and playing around with Forge Fast expands a little bit, so I decided to put my pylon down a little bit on the left-hand side. And I think I don't know if this was an error or I think it worked out okay in this particular game, but I can see some opportunities with it as the game goes on. So whenever I play on Entombed Valley, I always try to check cross by ground first. Top left to top right is considered close by ground, bottom left to bottom right is close by ground as well. So I just try to make sure that close by ground is taken care of. And I am pleasantly surprised or pleasantly delighted that we're close by air. That's probably my most viable position. It's still quite a little ways by ground. And there's some areas that people or that Zergs can park overlords that are picked off by my early Stargate play. So I decided to put down a Nexus before Forge because I'd seen him for a while and he didn't have a whole lot of map presence, and I was pleasantly surprised to know that my gamble paid off. When I saw the amount of drones that were transferring down to the 2nd base, he was kind of nervous of any kind of Forge shenanigans, it looked like, and you know what, didn't even care. Spawning into his base and looking around, I saw a spawning pool that was about 75% done, so I know that my Nexus first was a pretty good gamble. Decide to delay the Forge even a little bit more. The only thing that I'd be really nervous about is a lot of Zerglings afterward, but most of the time if you get an expansion first, you're gonna negate getting a lot of Zerglings other than just getting some for map control. So I was able to power a little bit and be able to plant that cannon down quite a bit late. So I'm still kind of just meandering around, seeing what I can find here. It looks like he just put down a spine crawler, so he was really fucking nervous. I decided to poke my probe into the 3rd base, so I can know if he's going to go for a fast 3rd or what kind of 3rd timing he has. I see this drone actually meandering around. To be perfectly honest, I really don't give a rat's ass if he scouts me, as long as he doesn't prohibit me from being able to do exactly what I wanted to do. But I just have one probe just wandering around with him just to make sure it doesn't do anything too cheesy. Hide that probe in the corner a little bit more, and that probe is just poking that guy. Bill Zealot to actually pop off that wall, but I just power as much as I can. I feel that I'm really I'm not too far behind in this stage, but it just seems like it's very difficult for me to be able to build probes because I'm almost constantly broke, but I have a lot of gas. So maybe delay the gas a hair. Or a hair longer, but it just seems like I don't know, gas timing is something I'm still kind of playing with. And I decided to do a run around, and I zapped that drone. +1 started, warp gates kind of on the way, and I'm building sentries. Sentries are very important to have a lot of as the game goes on. Force fields are super important, and having a good amount of force fields, being able to hold off that about 12 to 14 minute push is super important, because that's when my upswing is starting. So I'm supply blocked a hair right here, but I have one pylon on the way. And I throw down my Stargate. I'm still just building probes. I should be utilizing Chrono Boost a little bit more, but I'm not. And +1's about halfway done. Still popping out a couple sentries, and my money is really low. I'm going to the encounter station real quick. I'm actually just one ahead of him in drones, starting to actually climb from there. He catches my probe, and from what I can see from that original scout, I didn't see a second base, so he's still on 2 bases. And the longer that this goes on, the more, or I'm pretty confident he's on 2 bases. The longer that I'm able to keep this going, the better. So I build my initial Void Ray, and I guess it stinks, like, I'm pretty sure Zerg can metagame the shit out of me, but I'm rarely ever going to build 2 Stargates or really do a whole lot of heavy Stargate pressure. But having a couple Void Rays or a couple Phoenixes definitely hurts the Zerg's ability to be able to have a lot of Overlords floating around the map. So my +1's about done, and my gateways are pretty late. As you can see here, this was the first game back in kind of a little while. I'm on Skype, and I'm getting used to a mouse, so I'm not sure it's too bad. First Void Ray comes out, and pretty much what I do with the Void Ray is just scan along the close by air paths between each base, see if I can pick off any Overlords, and as you can kind of see right here, I'm just meandering and just poking, going back and forth, and it looks like I'm able to pick off an Overlord, and being able to pick off a couple Overlords here and there is always awesome. As you can see, I supply block him a little bit, and it looks like he's having to respond by putting 2 Spore Crawlers down. And I tech for a little bit, my stuff starts kicking in, and he's actually supply blocked quite a bit. He's actually not building any additional Overlords right now, or he's actually building 5 more, so actually supply block him quite a bit right here. So I'm building some pylons so I don't get particularly supply blocked. What I like to do is I get 1-1. A lot of times I like to get a fast 2, send 1 Phoenix around just to scout around and see what I can see. And if I take my second base by about the 10.5-minute mark, or my third base, excuse me, then I know I've done pretty well. I have 1 Phoenix just flying through each base. Looks like he got shot down. No, he's still up. So I'm able to keep him and just do a little pot damage. Just make sure that he can't do too much with it. I saw 1 thing building, but I saw a Roach Warren, and based on the size of the structure, it was either an Infestation Pit, an Evo Chamber, or a Hydra Den. So either way, it wasn't a Spire, so I knew I didn't have to do any kind of overreaction based on that. And if we look at the timing, I'm about 10 minutes and 45 seconds. So my third does get delayed a little bit, but that's okay. I've got $1 billion in the bank. I can work with some units, and I think there's a little bit of a hiccup with probes getting over there because I want to be able to actually like completely wall off a third before I do any kind of shenanigans with it. So I'm getting blink. +1 armor is about to complete. He is researching +2 carapace and +1 range weapons. I actually had him in food, so his macro is really sloppy. At this point, a competent Zerg player, I feel, would have been able to just completely steamroll me. Especially at this point, I've definitely had my air units kind of sitting out in the middle of the map, and about this time is when I'd start getting really scared. He's starting to ramp up for an attack as well, but I'm not too overly concerned about it. But I'm starting to throw down additional cannons just to make sure that there aren't any kind of sneaky stuff flowing by. Actually, my air units at the edge of the base, and the 2 additional gateways should bring me up to 6, which is still a little low. I'd like to get to 7 or 8, but it was the first game back, and his macro is starting to kick in just a little bit. He's starting to get about 40 food ahead of me, but he's maxing out on Roaches. +2 started, blink is about complete, and my third is about to kick online, which I wish it kicked in a little bit earlier. But we're warping in Stalkers. We've got 4 sentries that have plenty of energy. Actually, yeah, about 4 sentries. My wall fucked up right there, so I'm going to put down another cannon and completely wall that in. And as we can see from the movement right there, it looks like he slightly messed up his micro, so I was able to get away with some stuff just a little bit. But he's now about 60 foot ahead of me, but again, a lot of that is Roaches, so what it comes down to right here is my ability to make sure that he can't just simply walk up my ramp, and be able to control my play properly with it. Blink that one stalker up just to make sure that nothing shaky happens. So he's building quite a bit. I have an immortal on the way, and I just want to make sure I'm on supply blocks. So really scared right here. He's actually focus firing down that cybernetics core, and I don't realize it right away because I'm just trying to make sure that my force fields don't die. So I'm actually trying to warp stalkers in right here. It doesn't work. So just warping some zealots, warping the core up there, and my forge is actually taken down as well. And as you can see right there with some good force fields, it's going to completely prevent the Zerg from being able to push up. That robotics or the Colossus Den is really, really dangerously close to being able to do stuff. I'm trying to build some additional cannons, but again with some force fields, I'm able to completely lock that down. He's just 1Aing, and a lot of the units are actually being locked down in the back. Some additional zealots being warped in. Part of me thinks that this was kind of a miracle hold, but if we look at the upgrades, I don't want to look at the upgrades too much, but I am at 1-1, he is at 2-1, so he's slightly being a little bit more resilient than I am. He's actually pumping out 16 more Hydras on top of that, and right now I'm just warping in some zealots to be able to tank some damage. My forges are done, so I'm able to build in some more cannons. So I'm pretty much saying that, hey, you're not going to walk up this ramp. I think I have one gateway being replaced, and I should be building some more gateways, but my money is still pretty low. If we go to the unit counting station, I'm at 68 workers, and I'm actually building 3 more at a time, so I'm starting to get into the money shot. Colossus are starting to come pumping out, and Colossus range is about complete. So at this point, he's going to be maxing out on Roach Hydra, and I'm going to be maxing out on Gateway with Robo, and Gateway with Robo with some air support should kill a Roach Hydra build. So the force fields, it's preventing the... I warp in some additional sentries, and those force fields are preventing the Zerg from being able to completely lock in. And the Colossus is just doing some long-range pot shots. And I throw down a force field, I really don't know why, but pumping out some additional Void Rays, throwing down some gates, my money's starting to get a little bit high. And at this point, I'm feeling pretty awesome. A army that has a lot of laser beams in it is an army that I like. And since I'm deciding that I'm just about to push out, I'm going to push out when 2-2 is done. I'm going to start getting ready to take my 4th. I don't feel comfortable taking the specific or the close by air or the close by ground 4th, which is at about the top or the top middle of the map. So I decided to take the 3rd of the base close by, and I can wall that off with black cannons. And this will be pretty well timed as well, since my main is about to be mined out. So I decided to throw down a Twilight Council. I like to be able to get Archons eventually and really wrap up my tech. He put down a lot of... I like to get some sort of Templar, whether it's Dark or High Templar. If he doesn't respond really well to the Stargate, so he just doesn't get a lot... Like, he might get like 1 Spore per base, right? I like to get Dark Templar, but if he overreacts, which I think I saw... or that's how I felt, I'm going to get something more of the High Templar kind, and we're going to see some storms here pretty soon, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. Next is about halfway done. By the time those probes get to where they need to go, they're going to be done as well. So I decided to peek out just a little bit, force field a little bit back. Those force fields were shit. And he has some spore crawlers quite a bit of the ways in the middle of the map, and I really don't understand why. But the force fields, or the observer's there to kind of clean up creep to make sure that he can't really scan me too well. And some Zerglings run into their death. We actually have some force fields, and those were force fields that prevented his army from completely pushing up. I wasn't able to completely trap a whole lot, but I was like, look, you're not going to get too far. Storm's about 80% of the way done, warping some Templar so they can charge some energy. And by the time I actually really commit to my push, it should be pretty solid. So tons of probes are actually going to be starting making their way over to that base. I add 3 more gates. I think my gate and my upgrade count, so 2-2's done. I start Zealot legs, I'm starting to get 3-3, so that's kind of the money play. At this point, I'm feeling pretty good. He shouldn't have too many units because he hasn't been, like... I haven't decimated his army. He's still sitting on a lot. I mean, I see some corruptors over there, but I'm not feeling too scared about that. Pretty good storm going down there. Take about half their health. Some force fields along the right side, so that Roaches and Hydras can't really get a good flank. And if you were keen there, you saw pretty good feedback on the Overseer, so couldn't see any kind of detector or anything like that. The corruptors are still taking damage, but they're really just kind of getting pot shot by the stalkers. And those two baller stalkers are actually choking up pretty well. Some additional stuff being reinforced in. So I'm about 4 Colossi right now. Line of spine crawlers actually warping in, and the Colossus are doing pretty good damage to making sure that happens. We got an attack on the right side, and I couldn't be more happier with these storms. They do a sick amount of damage. The 2 baller stalkers from earlier are starting to get to really low health, so I reinforced that. I'm warping in with some additional stalkers. And as I'm 100 food ahead of my opponent, I get some BM from our opponent's son saying, "You're so bad." So this was my first game in about a week since my mouse broke. I know there were some opportunities in my play. I felt like I didn't scout as much. He had some good control, but my every single in-game plan that I had was correct. So I was very, very confident in my game sense that game, and from there I was just able to really dominate him. So that's kind of my thought process of the game. If you like to check out my stream whenever I do end up streaming again, and thanks for watching.